Hi, I want to talk about elastic interpolation. So I have this very basic rig and it's just about with some plants and the plants can bend to one side of the other. You can see it here. So it's not a beautiful rig, but it will work for this tutorial. So I can move and rotate the pot. Okay? So what I want to show you, so let's suppose something is pushing this plant to the left. Okay, so something is pushing, maybe a character is passing and it touches the plant or something like that, or maybe a ball or whatever. So I have this movement here. I have a keyframe for rotation of every bone in frame 1. Then in frame 18 I have another keyframe where all the entire plant goes to the left, even a little bit of the pot. There is some rotation for the pot there. And then in frame 48 the plants go back to its normal position. Okay, so I have this very boring movement. So but we want it to look a bit more fluid, a bit more natural. So normally what we will have to do is to add some bounce to the plant. So maybe instead of for instance, maybe at this point instead of simply going slowly to the right, maybe at this point it will go to the right and even farther to the right because it's bouncing. So and then we'll go to the original position. Okay, but if I would do this by hand, I will have to add a lot of keyframes there and to adjust the slight movement of the branches there, and it will take some minutes to do, and we don't want to spend those minutes doing that because we have elastic keyframes and elastic keyframes can do it for us. So, and we don't want to work. That's what I mean. So I will remove this keyframe in the middle. So now it's in the original position, then it goes left and then it goes back to the right. But in this keyframe, when it turns or it rotates to the left, I will select the rotation keyframe here and I will open the keyframe window. If you don't see the keyframe window, is in the menu window keyframe. Okay, so I will open the keyframe window and I will select the interpolation elastic, and we basically have 3 options there. We will use 2 of those options in this tutorial, but the other one is you can totally understand it. You don't need a tutorial for that option. I'm sorry, I won't explain it. But anyway, we have bounce count, we have a scale, and the other option that I won't show is backwards. It's a ticket. You will have to explore it yourself. So we have the bounce count, which means how many times you want this elastic movement to bounce before getting to the final position. Okay, so by default it is 4. And then we have the scale, and the scale is how wide you want the movement of the bounciness before getting to the final position. So the bigger the number, the wider the movement will be. So let's try with 4 and 0.5, which is the value by default. So if I hit play here, you can see how the plant goes left in the normal way because this keyframe is just smooth, so the movement from here to here is just smooth, but the movement from here to the next keyframe is bouncing. So you can see it goes left and then bounces, left and then bounces. Okay, so maybe 4 bounces is a little bit too much for this movement. Maybe I will select 3 instead. And maybe I want them a little bit wider. Maybe instead of 0.5 I want 1. So yeah, let's suppose I like this. Okay, so now you can see I have my movement and I already have the plant bouncing back, and I just have basically I have 2 keyframes here, like the original rotation and the final pose. Now once we have this defined, or at least this is the way I like to work. Once I have this defined, I can start delaying some of the actions. So for instance, let's suppose the character pushes the plant from the bottom of these branches. I don't know the word of that, but let's suppose the character pushes from the leaf, so sorry, for the base, from the base. So what I will do is I will select all the rest of the bones, but not the base of the branches, and I will select all those keyframes, all the keyframes related to those bones, which are here in the red line, and I will delay them a little bit. So now the movement is not happening at the same time, so the base moves first and then the other part follows. So if I test it, you can see how the top part is moving after. So I can even test this delay, make it a little bit late or a little bit sooner. I can be testing that, but let's suppose I like it this way, and maybe now the top will also move a little bit late because that part is receiving the push much later than the rest of the body of this plant. So I will select all these 3 bones at the top and I will move them to the right in the timeline a little bit more. So now there will be a delay for them then. So you can see it looks a little bit more natural now. And maybe also the pot. Right now the pot is moving at the same time than the base is moving, but if the character is pushing from here, like in this direction, probably the pot will move after, because the branches will move, and they will, once the branches move, they will push the pot, so the pot will move after them. So I will just select the bone of the pot and delay its movement a little bit, so I will test. So you can see now it's moving later. So now with basically 3 keyframes, but reordered, but we just animated 3 keyframes, we have this much nicer movement here, and we can continue delaying. So maybe, for instance, this part of the plant will move before the rest, because it is closer to the character pushing it. So maybe the other plant, these 2 other plants will move after, so I can select the bones for them, and again I can select the keyframes of all those in the red line here, and maybe I can delay them a little bit. So now you can see they are moving after, and maybe I can do it again, but now only with the last part, so I am delaying everything a little bit more. So maybe this part will move after. So you can see it looks a bit more natural now, and it's basically the same animation again, but I am just moving the keyframes to the right a little bit. But that's it. So we are using just elastic keyframes. I recommend you again to test your elastic keyframes at the beginning, so create these 3 keyframes and then put the elastic there to see how it works. And once you have that ready, once you like that movement, or you like that bounciness, once you are done with that, then you start delaying the keyframes. You see? Okay, so we will continue in the next tutorial working with this, because I want to show you how to copy and paste keyframes from one element to the other, so we can make a complex animation from one element and copy it to the other one. But that will be the other tutorial. Okay, well, thank you for watching. Bye.